The BOOcast synth of the month is the Roland SH-1.
Released in 1978, the Roland SH-1 was not the first Roland SH synthesizer. That was 1973's SH-1000, but like all the early SH synths, the SH-1 is based on fully discrete components and shares the same filter as the even rarer SH-7. Why SH? Legend has it that it comes from the Japanese pronunciation of the word synthesizer. It's been in my life since I was a teenager, and it's been through many rough gig moments. And once, an audience member asked what it was, and the drummer answered, "It's an SH-1T. Shocking. That's drummers for you. It's gorgeous.
The beautiful Roland SH-1 from 1978. It's lovely. It's got a lot of beautiful heritage built inside it. This thing's been in the family since 1986. It's a bit beat up. It's a mess. If you want to see the full stories of all the horror this has gone through, go and have a look at the Sonic State video here. And if you can join the Patreon, you can see the much longer one here. And they both tell the whole story. I'm not going to tell that whole story again. Just thought I'd give you a little look at the grand old lady of Boo. Let's start with the oscillator. So the oscillator on the SH-1 gives you three possible waveforms. You get a sawtooth with a range, and you also get a keyboard transpose, which means your range goes all the way from the farts up to dogs. Unlike the SH-101, which has Curtis chips as its oscillator, and in fact, so many synths have that Curtis chip, I've forgotten the number of it, 33 something. This does not have those. In fact, the first time I heard an SH-101 was after I'd heard this, and I actually didn't really like it. It sounded a bit, how can I put it, off the shelf? I mean, that's such a snobby thing to say, but it felt, I just didn't like it. It felt plasticky, it felt wrong. And this is completely made of plastic, don't get me wrong, but inside here, the oscillators are built from actually genuine discrete OTAs and op amps and all kinds of little bits and gubbins nailed together to give you this one single oscillator. And I think it sounds great. So we get a saw, and we also get a square. And we get a pulse, which can manually wangle. Yep, goes nice and tight. We can connect it to envelope 1. If you've heard our last album, Compulsory Games, it's full of this trumpet noise, which I used to love as a kid, and I don't know, I kind of rediscovered a love of it. We can also connect the pulse width to the single LFO. Let's do that now. Now, the delay time doesn't work with the pulse width, but it does work with pitches. We'll see later, but there you go. Nice bit of thickening up going on there. Oh, God. Yeah, stop me if I do that again. Name that tune. Okay, next to the VCO, we have a sub-oscillator. Now, the sub-oscillator gives us 1 octave down square, 2 octave down square, 2 octave down narrower pulse. The way the sub-oscillator works, it's a flip-flop circuit in here. So every time the oscillator, the main oscillator, completes a cycle, how low can I go? So yeah, so that's, you can hear those cycles. Each of those cycles, as it completes the flip-flop, what it does is it switches on and off. On with one cycle, off with another. Which gives you a square waveform of exactly half the frequency of the main oscillator. Why is it a square? Well, I guess it's electrically simpler to make a square waveform this way than anything else. So it's quite a simple circuit. A little flip-flop is just clicking and it divides it down. So let's hear that. There's our lovely square. And we also have a 2 octaves down. How does it do that? It's got a second flip-flop connected to the first one, which divides that again. Whoa. So there you go. Now you know how those are made. And the narrow pulse, how's that made? Well, it adds the first one to the second one, and they subtract from each other, and you'll get left with this. If you see what I mean. So this all serves to make the sound nice and fat, and combined with the pulse width modulation, you can begin to see why this thing is known as a bit of a bass beast. So the question, I guess, is one oscillator enough? Now, to tell you the truth, there have been many times when we've pulled this one out and used it in favour of the Mini Moog, because it does have a solid, gutsy, ballsy, bam feel to it, which is just so simple. And that single oscillator, really nice. Seeing as we're here, let's look at the audio mixer. So we have nice sliders for the VCO and the sub. We can blend them together. And we also have noise, pink or white, which is very considerate of them. We also have an external signal in. So I've got the Volca sample here. I have no idea what's going on this, but let's just plug the output into the external signal input and we can listen to it. So you get to obviously put stuff through the filter. You can also give yourself a little bit of fun with the external signal envelope follower. The amplitude of the incoming signal is opening and closing the cutoff frequency. But we can turn off the external signal and just give ourselves oscillators. It's a way of getting a kind of sequenced part without any sequencer in sight. Another thing I like to do with the external signal is you take the headphone out and plug it into the external signal input. It really gives it a massive bit of balls. Really, oof! It's got some real. You can hear that, can't you? Up high it also adds a bit of extra scream, but also if you bring up the resonance, so you can hear the resonance there. Oh, we've got the external signal follower on. Let's turn it off. And bring. You hear that? A completely different quality to the filter. I should say also the rails on the keyboard are actually quite, they're in need of a clean and a repair, and I haven't done it. I should do it. Almost sync. If you can hear that. Kind of synchy. We're on the filter. So the filter is lovely. 24 dB. As you expect, we generally lose a bit of bass. Bit of low frequency action disappears. When we bring the resonance up, but hey, I love it. And we got a high pass filter, which is, I think, 6 dB. Woof. Yep, that's the filter. Again, the filter has resonance, which can be tracked to the keyboard. And, you know, even after all these years, it still works. And obviously, once we've got the resonance, we can pretend we've got a 2 oscillator synth. I think I did this on the Sonic State video I made, but if you knock that off full, you get some really nice... You get some really nice asymmetric sounds. I think that sounds delicious. So what else have we got here? Well, we're looking at the envelopes now. So we've got 2 envelopes. We have an envelope 1, which is an ADSR. We switch the VCA into envelope 1. Feels... I don't know what that sounds like to you, but that sounds exponential to me. Which is all, I prefer that kind of envelope, a little bit snappier. You can also switch the VCA away from envelope 1 and to envelope 2, which is just an AR envelope, which allows us to do filter things like this. So obviously if that was on envelope 1, we'd lose it because it cuts down, but this way we get to hear it. So we've got the 2 envelopes, and we've also got VCA hold, which you bring up and you get that drone. Isn't that a nice filter? Bring up that. What have we forgotten? Oh yes, back here in the VCO, we have a modulation, so we can, let's bring out that. So go to the sawtooth, and we can give it a little bit of modulation. So I'm going to choose between a sine wave and a bipolar square. Bit of a pain to tune. So we can pretend we've got a VL1, which of course we all have. We should have. Just to demonstrate how fast the modulator goes. We don't call it an LFO here, we call it a modulator. And we've also got a random sample and hold. So with the modulator, we can modulate the pitch of the VCO, we can modulate the pulse width of the pulse wave, and we can modulate the filter. So let's do that. We can also take gate from the LFO to envelope 1, so let's do that with this switch here. Speed it up a bit. Let's bring up the external. That really adds some beef. On the left hand side we've got tuning. Ooh, let's bring that up. pretty wide. And we've got the volume knob. And portamento, let's have a listen to that. So as you can see, that's just on or off. We don't get any choice of the latching or whether it's triggered legato or... So we've also got delay time for the pitch modulation, which is nice. We can go... Which is very nice for your lovely, slow things, you know. I won't do any more in case we get copyright struck again. We've got a bender. Now, I've snapped the little prong off my bender years ago, but the bender gives you VCO, pitch, and VCF. Positive and negative. Oh, I've still got the external signal on. So, have we done everything? Is that everything now? Have you seen everything? HP, have you? Yes, you have. Something I used to love to do was to take a analog delay out of the headphones. Whoops. Plug it into the external input. You get a delay that only lasts as long as you're holding the note down. And leave you with a sequence from the key step